All right, here we are back for round 5. We have Brian versus Luke, where we have Galaxy versus Nuemon. This is definitely going to be really interesting because Nuemon got severely hit by the restriction and ban list, as we know, and it's going to be really interesting to see how Nume works out. So, looks like Galaxy is going to start off, not starting off, they already began. But it looks like we're going to have Nuemon tucking in on their swords. Going into Galga. Galga is going to draw for both players. Since there's 3 sources, definitely gain a memory off. And they can pop off. And being able to remove the Monzemon, if they can, during this turn will be really huge. Just to slow them down. So, you know, get rid of any potential aces that can be coming. And definitely just trying to need to find a level 5 to climb up into a level 6. Looks like they found Mirage right here, which does bounce the Monze, gaining a ton of memory back. We all know how powerful the Galaxy engine is with a bunch of like different top end blue cards or even some red as well. Which really the only red card that you would play is like Apollo, I think. But so far this is really good. You know, putting them down to 1 memory to work with. All they have is Uko in the back. And if they do choose to push out with the Uko, this puts them in a really tough position because Mirage is just going to gain the memory, steal the turn back, and then it's going to start exerting pressure against a Nume right here. Nume is going to have to find a way to either establish a tamer, something like a Satsuki is what they're looking for, or even a memory setter so that they can at least come out without passing the turn. Or they choose to come out and pass the turn either way, and then work with what they have. This is a really, really tough spot already, right in the get-go with Nume. So that's a hard drop the 8A right here to basically taunt, force an attack. Likely it's going to force the Mirage, so that when it attacks, potential ace is going to be incoming. Which ace is it going to be? It's likely going to be Valk Ace. Valk Ace is going to blanket 5k to the board right away, getting rid of the Flaremon right there. Goes for the check, deletes the Mirage, but the Galaxy player does have a lot to work with. Luke can still continue to build, set up some tamers, digivolve up a little bit, and try to loop all over again, or maybe try to play out in the battle area, just start and just digivolve and climb all the way through. It goes for Uko. And hard drops the level 5 just to stun out the Valkyrie for now. But this gives the opportunity for Brian to actually push out with Nume. Not Nume, sorry, to push out with Uko. Uko can now search without having to worry about the Mirage stealing the turn back at this moment. Grabbing another Uko, hatching, and continue to cycle all the eggs, so then start digivolving and start drawing as much as possible. Goes into Uko for the back. Would Brian swing with Valkyrie right here just to get rid of the level 5, but would there be a level 6 blue ace that might be coming as well? Potential Vike ace? I don't think so, but if Valkyrie check does go through, it can actually pop the level 5 to slow down the momentum a little bit. Even with ace overflow, it won't be too bad if it gets the lead in security, I feel like, just because they start at 3 anyways. But looks like it's coming down with another Edamon play, forcing, I believe it's Sarismon, right? Or Cressamon. Cressamon to attack. Comes out with the Uko first. Lots of memory to work with once again. Uko's going to search and hatch as well. And goes ahead and attacks. What ace is going to be coming down? Another Valkyrie? Another Valkyrie it is. It's going to blow up the entire board, taking down Uko alongside with Cressamon. back into a similar position as last turn. Lots of memory to work with. And as of right now, it might be the best just to like Digivolve in the back and try to climb up in the stack and then find a way to actually answer the board afterwards. 2 Valkyrie Aces is kind of dangerous too, because essentially, if those checks go through, Valkyrie Ace can actually do 2 checks at a time, taking out 4 security in total with both Valkyrie Aces, and both Ukomons can finish off the game if there's nothing to be set up and prepped on the board to actually counter this at the moment. Feels like the Galaxy deck needs to start playing outside right here at this moment and try to remove and deal with the board. Try to somehow remove the Valkyrie Ace if possible. Hard drops the Macao here. Goes into Hexablau. No Tamer to bottom deck, but this freezes the entire board. Really, really nice to see Hexablau right here. One of my personal favorite cards of this set. And yeah, Hexablau is just incredibly good, as it's really splashable to almost any blue deck. Let's quickly pull this up for you guys as well. This is a really good answer because this actually just stops the Valkyrie Aces and the Ukomon from essentially attacking. Even the Uko from the back coming out gets to search, but they can't attack. Anything that has equal or fewer sources can't suspend, which basically freezes and stuns the entire board at the moment. Luke is sitting in a really good position because then they can come out with Nuemon the next turn and go for a follow-up play and try to find some ways to actually start removing and cycling, drawing, searching, all that good Galaxy stuff, and potentially climb into some form of level 6 and start removing the board at the same time. And then freely also try to attack with Hexablau. Here comes a Nuemon. Nuemon puts Satsuki underneath to gain rush, but it doesn't matter. It just can't attack. It can't suspend because of Hexablau. Goes into Nuemon X. Now it can because it has more sources. So potentially it can go for a swing. And maybe even float a Nuemon back out if needed. The question is, does Luke have a Paladin mode ace to answer here? Looks like he's thinking, or they're thinking, they might have one. Just checking the opponent's trash right now, which is good, just to see. So in this position, if Paladin mode ace comes down, it will just wipe out all sources, and the next turn, Luke can actually make almost infinite hits into the security. This is very, very tempting. Very, very tempting. Looks like they want to let it through. So they're going to let it through. Finds this Ko and Sayo, or Sayo and Ko. And this gives them a lot of resource to work with the next turn now. Even more additional resources to continue to climb up and Digivolve and tuck under again and again and again. How is Brian going to end the turn right here? Are they going to end with a Monze? Or potentially a Monze X? Goes into a regular Monze and sits there and possibly threatens an ace to follow up. Luke confidently just pushes out, goes ahead and goes into Lekismon. Continue to search right away. Grabbing the flare. Goes ahead and uses Nuemon to tuck underneath, gains 2 memory. Now's the opportunity to go into a Galga. Both player draws 1 and gaining 1 as well, since Galga does have 3 sources, and at this point, opponent, which Brian certainly has more than 8 cards in hand. Uses Coincide, tucks under Gal to go into the Paladin Ace, which is the absolutely insane combo. And this is even more value than tempting to go into the Ace from the prior turn. Because now you get to go into Paladin mode Ace your own turn. You don't have to be worried about your opponent trying to get rid of it during their turn just to try to finish it off. But now by going into it your own turn, Luke can now clear the board, make essentially 6 attacks, and finish the game off, potentially. This is absolutely crazy. This is why I really, really like the Galaxy Loop package. Being able to go into Paladin mode Ace for free is absolutely speechless, man. For free. Bottom decking Brian's Trash. And still 3 memory to work with. Keep in mind, guys, Luke started off with 3 memory. Cycled and drawed a lot. Searched a lot. Didn't search, but like drew a lot from Galga. And they still have another Coincide to utilize just before they want to attempt to go for any attacks. The only thing they need to be worried about at this moment is a potential Cherubi Ace, because a Cherubi Ace can actually get rid of the Paladin. But as long as Paladin attacks and bottom decks the Monze first, then there's nothing to worry about. Goes into another Galga. Both player draws. Gains a memory back. Will there be a level 5 to work with? Yep, goes into Cressamon again. Cressamon's going to stun something. And here comes the Paladin swing. Bottom decks the Valk first. Bottom decks the other Valkyrie and attempts to continue to attack. Although it has security -1, which I completely forgot, and apologies guys, I forgot that the Monze did give security -1 to that particular stack. Not being able to check through the security is totally fine, but clearing the board like this and gaining a ton of memory all the way to 9 is really good, because now this moment Luke can look for another potential attack right here, going into another level 6, but looks like going to go down with a Flaremon first. Sorry, it's Coronamon. Coronamon into Flaremon. Flaremon searches. Uses Corona to tuck underneath. Uses Sayo and Ko to tuck another again. Gaining a ton of memory. Going into Hexablow right here. Hexablow is going to be able to check for 2 security with jamming as well. Again, being able to evolve for free into a level 6 and up is just absolutely insane. Now, Digivolving into... I forgot the name for a second. Let me give you a check, guys. What was the level 5's name? Oh, I've been calling it wrong the entire time. Flaremon's a level 5, and Pheramon is a level 4. Apologies. But yes, 2 checks with Hexablow. Plays out another Coincide and passes them back to 1 memory. Brian comes out with Ukomon and attempts to search right here, but the board difference is just way too huge at this moment. You guys can see how strong the Galaxy deck cycles is. The amount of memory, the amount of free evolutions it can get into is just incredibly efficient, being able to set up a board like this, and it's going to be hard to actually answer. Will there be another Edamon? Will there be another Monze? To potentially slow it down by a little bit. Will there be another ace that Brian can drop down to slow down this board? If there is Death X, it's actually not too bad here too, because Death X would be reduced by 18 cost in total because there's 3 Tamers and 3 Digimon. So this could be a really, really good Death X play in this position right here. If Brian has it, and if Brian runs it too. Because Paladin mode can Ace Overflow, gaining the 5 back. With only 1 memory to work with. Alright, drops down the Monze. No Nume from Trash to actually tuck underneath to gain 2 back. So just passes to 6. Minus 3k, minus sec 1. And here we go again. Will Luke be able to finish this turn? As long as there's a way to deal with the Monze right off the bat, then Luke can freely swing, using Paladin mode again to bottom deck, to go for a check. So it looks like the Paladin was under the security -1 and under 3k, which is totally fine. Because now Luke can potentially actually even just try to swing with Hexablau. No, Hexablau requires no sources in order for it to gain. No, by default, it has security +1, I'm pretty sure. Yes, Hexablau default has security +1, but goes into Flare, goes into Apollo. Look at all those crazy stacks. Goes for Apollo checks with huge DP. And Hexablau can finish it off. Where Luke takes the first game. Wow. What a crazy combo. Perfect execution and very well played. With so many answers, with Galaxy being toolbox, with a lot of different cards to utilize when the top end, there's so many ways to play around Nume. Nume is definitely in a really tough spot just because it lost Nume X and couldn't really utilize much either. This can possibly be a very, very tough uphill battle for Brian. All right, looks like Luke is starting off with a turn 1 Uku play, putting Brian to only 1 memory. finding the one of Uko in the back. And setting up a Gare here to trash and draw 2. Uko comes out with a search. Probably grabbing the Coincide, but there is a really good tempting option to also grab the Digimon Emperor, because Digimon Emperor will cost 3. So it looks like, yep, no Coincide to the bottom. So then Digimon Emperor can put it back to perfectly at 1, and as soon as Uko tries to push up, it will slow down the momentum. Even though Uko will gain the memory and hatch one, at least this is one of the biggest counters against Nume, or many decks that kind of come out and try to utilize Brookies with starter main phase effects. So Uko does come out, gains 1, loses 2 as well at the same time. But at least gets the hatch, and at least Brian can still continue their turn. Luke did set up a Gotsumon in the back, so Gotsumon's also a really good card to sort of counter against Nume, just to prevent them from, floating and playing back from abilities and effects. Goes into Monze X. Unfortunately, no Proto Form or no Monze, just to bridge through this, passing Luke back to 3 memory. Gatsu comes out, and Uko is going to continue to grab value to search for pieces. Grabs the Apollo. Will Luke continue to Digivolve outside in the battle area? Looks like it is going into the Pheromon to search, giving up the Gatsu Floodgate effect just to, start turboing into the stack and cycling through the deck as quickly as possible. Goes into Luna, finds it, so then Digivolves in the back to continue to draw more cards and cycle through the deck. However, there's no Coincide to work with just yet either. But there is Sunmon that can be utilized too. Goes into Cressamon. Gets to stun something down. Will Brian have an answer to this board? If there's a way just to remove the Cressamon preemptively, that will stop Luke from being able to go into 6 afterwards the next turn. Digivolves Monze X into Venus, blanket -1 security just to slow down the game a little bit. And here we can see Luke running out or hatching the last Digi-Egg, and the Ukomon since the very beginning has provided so much value, so much search, and so much cycling. Lunamon's gonna bounce the Uko back just to gain 2 memory. We can see here, even without Coincide, the Galaxy Package Engine can still utilize its own inheritables to continue to digivolve as much as possible. Apollo is actually going to go for attempt to attack for at least one check. But with the end of attack, it can actually remove the Venusmon, no problem. Since Venusmon only shuts down when digivolving and when attacking effects, since Apollo is end of attack. Luke finishes off with Lekismon to search, passing only one memory. Bottom decks both Mirages, but the promo Ukumon is really what's trying to keep the Nuemon able to continue to play. But even though we can see it's just really, really tough, the amount of resources that Luke is gathering is slowly overtaking Brian a bit. As a matter of fact, it's actually a tremendous amount because all Brian has to work with is just 2 Ukos to continue to search. And because of Digimon Emperor, it is going to push it down back to 0 memory, which is really, really tough. There's not a lot to work with here. And is Brian going to apply some pressure or try to attempt to swing the security? We get to see Monze here, tucking in underneath the Nume, gaining 2 memory, and puts Luke back to 5. Again, with the amount of resources and memory, there's no need for any tamer. And all Luke needs to do is just to find a way to get rid of the Monze before any ace is going to happen. So the loop continues with Galaxy into Galgamon to continue to draw and cycle. Goes into Crestamon for 1. And is Luke going into any level 6? Is it going to be another Apollo? Is it going to be a Hexablow potentially? Or would it be a Mirage? We've seen that 2 have been bottom decked earlier on, so chances are quite unlikely. But seeing a Mirage here would be really good, just to bounce the Monze and establish some presence. Plays down the Coincide, and if there's a way to remove the promo Ukumon, then Digimon Emperor will continue to give a lot of value. Tucks underneath the Apollo to go into Hexablow, taking down the sources and freezing the board. No tamer to bottom deck, but that's totally fine. But we can see here Luke is being very patient, trying to find some form of way to get rid of the Monze, hopefully even before attempting any attack. Being very careful just because One Blast Digivolution can give Brian a lot of resources to work with in the following turn, and Luke will have to climb up and start from scratch all over again. Puts down a second Digimon Emperor, which is insane here, and putting them down to 1 with the one and only Kukuamon, even with Ukomon. As soon as they push out, it's immediately turn pass. This is incredibly tough for Ryan just right now, just because there's no tamer on his side, their side. And Kukua will probably have to Digivolve into a level 4 in order for it to come out freely. So, oh, here it is. There's the Death X with 5 things on board. It is going to be for 5 cost, getting rid of one of the stacks, but still leaving the Crescimon, meaning Luke still has a lot to work with. Coming out with Coronamon, gaining a memory, there's one Coincile to be utilized. Luke can potentially easily get into another level 6 and find a way to deal with it. Starts off with Lekismon. Lekismon's going to search. Bottom decking another Mirage and another Hexablow. Goes into Galga, continues to draw. At this point, Luke probably cycled through their entire deck that they should be able to see another Mirage again. Right? I mean, it looks like they're holding half the deck in their hand at this moment. So there has to be some form of plays. Apollo is probably the best shot to try and get around and play and to get rid of the Death X in this moment too. Claremont's gonna get rid of the promo Uko for sure. And will we see an Apollo? Otherwise, there's another opportunity is that if Luke can go into level 6, use Coincile once again, and then Digivolve into a Paladin mode Ace just to clear the board. They might be digging for it at the moment. They might be looking for it. Crescimon's going to stun down. Looks like it's going to stun down the Monzemon. Hard drops the Lunamon as well as a preemptive way to also play around Death X potentially by the end of the turn. Goes into Lekis again. Lekis is going to search, grabbing a Gauga. We can see a Huang Kunmon as well there, being bottom decked. Continues to try and gain memory. It looks like Luke is trying to find something. Continuing to draw as much as possible with Galvamon. Thinning their deck out at this point. Although it doesn't really matter, because if they find a way to get into Paladin mode Ace, they can just bottom deck their trash and just reuse their resources all over again. So it looks like they probably finally cycled all the way back to the Mirage at this point, having Brian count the amount of cards in hand, going into the Mirage, bouncing the Monze, and probably gaining a couple memory back to keep turn. Now here we can see Coincile tucking underneath Flaremon, or tucking underneath the Galgamon underneath Luna to go into, of course, Paladin Ace. Paladin Ace is going to bottom deck Luke's own deck, which honestly there's not a lot to work with. 2 cards left in deck, I think, and just a shy of 6 cards left in the trash. Bottom decking the 2 eggs. This is the moment to try and attempt to swing for game. Bottom decking the Death X in the process, goes for the check, finds a Chumon, attacks again, bottom decks the Uko, unsuspends, Is there a bomb? Is there a turnaround? Hits into rune mode, but not enough DP to take it down. Nuemon comes and attacks. And Apollomon is going to come down and finish it off with Blitz. What a swift game. Luke with Galaxy.